to complete. Yet, even at that incredible depth, 7.5 miles, it only reaches halfway to the Earth's mantle. In the grand scheme of our planet, this colossal hole is merely scratching the surface. This wasn't a quest for oil, it was a scientific endeavor. Drilling ceased in 1992 when engineers encountered temperatures a staggering 100 degrees Fahrenheit higher than anticipated. The project was abandoned, leaving behind a barren hole. But here's the unsettling part. Some of the workers on the site claim to hear voices emanating from the depths of the Earth. Now travel to Yemen, where an ancient mysterious hole exists in the Barhout Well, far out in the eastern desert. This gaping chasm is closer to Oman than to Yemen's capital, Sana'a. Unlike the boreholes in Russia and Antarctica, this hole is not man-made. Or is it? It has existed for countless years, and the local population shuns it. They refuse to speak of it, believing it brings misfortune to those who dwell nearby or even utter its name. Legend claims it was created as a prison for spirits, a notion many dismiss. The hole itself is immense, nearly 100 feet wide and plunging to a depth of somewhere between 330 and 650 feet. Imagine a well, seemingly bottomless, plunging deep into the earth. A dark abyss, perhaps hundreds of feet deep. Strange, unsettling sounds echo from its depths. But here's the mystery. Scientists believe this well has virtually no ventilation, and the oxygen levels at its bottom are practically non-existent. Is it possible that anything could survive down there? It seems improbable, yet the sounds persist, fueling speculation and wonder. Now, let's journey to the deepest place on Earth, the Challenger Deep within the Mariana Trench. In March 2016, something extraordinary happened. Researchers captured a series of low-pitched grumbles, followed by eerie screeches, emanating from this crushing depth. To accomplish this feat, they used a specialized titanium-encased microphone, a technological marvel designed to withstand the immense pressure at the ocean's floor. This pressure, a staggering 1,000 times greater than at sea level, would instantly obliterate ordinary equipment. The microphone was carefully lowered into the abyss over a painstaking period. For 23 days, this underwater sentinel listened. It recorded the familiar sounds of the ocean, the songs of passing whales, the distant rumble of ships sailing on the surface, even the tremors of underwater earthquakes. But those initial unidentified sounds, the grumbles and screeches, remained a puzzle. Were they natural phenomena? Or were they somehow caused by human activity? Could these strange noises affect marine life, particularly creatures like dolphins and whales that rely on echolocation to navigate and hunt? The questions remain unanswered. What we do know is that our oceans are becoming increasingly noisy. Scientists estimate that the underwater soundscape is now 10 times louder than it was just 50 years ago. This escalating cacophony is driven by technological advancements. The ever-growing fleets of ships, the presence of submarines, and the constant hum of underwater construction. And, unfortunately, the ocean's volume is only expected to increase with time. But the mysteries of sound don't end in the depths of the ocean. Consider the northern lights, the aurora borealis. These breathtaking displays of light are often accompanied by sound, a phenomenon rarely discussed. When the auroras reach their peak intensity, faint popping and crackling noises can sometimes be heard. For years, scientists were baffled by these sounds, especially considering that the auroras occur so high above the Earth. Using specialized microphones, they finally unlocked the secret. The sounds, it turns out, originate much closer to the ground than previously thought, a mere 230 feet above us. These sounds are generated by electrical charges building within specific regions of the auroras. Magnetic storms, the very engine that powers the northern lights, disrupt these electrical charges. As a consequence, tiny sparks are released into the atmosphere, creating the faint crackling and popping sounds that accompany the ethereal dance of the aurora borealis, the bombardier beetle. This remarkable insect harbors a volatile cocktail of chemicals within its abdomen. When threatened, the beetle unleashes a scalding spray, a fiery discharge that, while not true fire, delivers a painful, burning sensation. To replicate this fiery feat in a dragon, similar glands would need to be situated within its throat, capable of producing and expelling a comparable concoction. But where did these dragons originate? They didn't simply materialize from thin air. Numerous legends attempt to explain their genesis. The tale of Fafnir speaks of a human transformed into a dragon, a chilling testament to the mutability of existence. However, the most prevalent theory centers on the dragon's life cycle, beginning with an egg. Ancient texts detail the stages of a dragon's life, a journey of transformation and growth. Imagine the hatching. A young dragon, driven by instinct, claws its way out of its shell, shattering the confines of its former world. Next comes the wormling stage. Dragonologists, those scholars dedicated to the study of dragons, use this term to describe a newly hatched dragon. Though small and vulnerable, the wormling is far from defenseless, possessing an innate ability to survive. The subsequent phases of a dragon's life are more straightforward. The adult dragon, reaching the peak of its power, and the ancient dragon, wise and venerable, its scales bearing the marks of countless ages. Finally, a dragon's life culminates in the twilight stage. Some believe that dragons never cease growing, their power ever increasing. Others claim that they transcend physical existence, passing into a spiritual realm. Dragons are powerful symbols, but what they symbolize varies depending on the region. In parts of Asia, dragons are considered bringers of good fortune, power, and prosperity. Yet, in Britain, a warrior must first vanquish a dragon to prove their strength and valor. This is why dragons are so often seen on flags. The Welsh flag, for example, proudly displays a magnificent red dragon against a backdrop of green and white. Western lore often paints dragons as malevolent and vengeful creatures, a stark contrast to their revered status in the East. Another enduring myth associates dragons with an insatiable lust for gold and precious gems. This avarice can be traced back to ancient Greece, where dragons were tasked with guarding invaluable treasures. This trope persists in modern literature, from the dragon Smaug in The Hobbit to the dragons encountered in the Harry Potter series. The magical abilities attributed to dragons are equally diverse. Some were said to possess blood imbued with supernatural properties. Others were rumored to speak with the tongues of men, offering cryptic prophecies and ancient wisdom. Many dragons in ancient literature could soar through the skies or even shapeshift into human form. Even in the real world, creatures have been named for their resemblance to dragons. Take the dragonfly, with its over 5,000 known subspecies. It earned its name from European folklore, where it was often regarded as an evil insect during the Middle Ages. Dragonflies were unjustly accused of heinous acts, such as biting people's eyes and mouths. However, the creature that most closely resembles the dragons of myth is a reptile known as the flying dragon, Draco volans. These fascinating creatures inhabit the wooded regions of Southeast Asia. While they lack true wings, elongated ribs support flaps of skin, allowing them to glide through the air. Imagine creatures soaring through the prehistoric skies, flitting between the ancient trees with an agility that defies gravity. Their wings, a kaleidoscope of vibrant colors, stand in stark contrast to their earth-toned bodies. Now, let's fast forward to a different kind of canvas: the human body. Throughout history, humankind has turned to the art of tattooing for a myriad of reasons: protection against dark forces, a declaration of belonging, an expression of love, a tribute to those held dear, or simply as a form of self-expression. And the trend shows no sign of slowing down. As of 2022, nearly half of the United States population, a staggering 46%, sports at least one tattoo. This surge in popularity has propelled tattooing into the ranks of the fastest-growing industries in the nation, and it's a safe bet that this number will only continue to climb. But have you ever paused to consider the ancient roots of this practice? When did this form of body modification first emerge, and how has it evolved through the millennia? The story of tattoos stretches back thousands of years. Picture this: the year is 1991, and deep within the Ötztal Alps, a remarkable discovery is made: Ötzi the Iceman, a perfectly preserved mummy dating back 5,200 years, frozen in time within a glacial tomb. And Ötzi isn't just any mummy. He holds the Guinness World Record for the oldest known tattoos. His body bears 61 distinct markings, meticulously analyzed and confirmed by experts as true tattoos. These aren't elaborate designs, but rather a series of simple vertical and horizontal lines, crafted from the soot and ash of ancient fireplaces. But unlike modern tattoos, Ötzi's markings weren't about self-expression. A closer examination of his bones revealed age-related degeneration and injuries in the very areas where the tattoos were located. This revelation led scientists to believe that Ötzi's tattoos served a medicinal purpose, offering relief from pain and discomfort, much like a primitive form of acupuncture. This also explains the seemingly random placement of the markings across his body. The sheer number of tattoos adorning Ötzi's body suggests that tattooing was already a known and established practice within his culture. He wasn't a pioneer, but rather a participant in a tradition that predated him. While Ötzi's tattoos are believed to be therapeutic, evidence of figurative tattoos, images depicting real-world subjects like animals, has been unearthed on 5,000-year-old Egyptian mummies. This discovery not only showcases the artistic evolution of tattooing, but also pushes back the timeline of its practice in Africa by 1,000 years. Furthermore, it challenges the long-held belief that only Egyptian women were recipients of this ancient art form. Mummified remains bearing tattoos have been recovered from at least 49 archaeological sites scattered across the globe, from the icy landscapes of Greenland and Alaska to the tropical islands of the Philippines. This widespread distribution suggests that tattooing was a truly universal phenomenon in the ancient world. Despite the wealth of evidence pointing to the antiquity and global reach of tattooing, the precise origins, the exact date and location of its inception remain shrouded in mystery. Written records offer glimpses into the practice as far back as 5th century BCE, Greece, where tattoos were used as a tool for marking criminals and enemies, making them easily identifiable should they attempt to escape. The Romans and Persians adopted similar practices, using tattoos to brand those deemed undesirable. However, other cultures embraced tattooing for entirely different reasons. In the Philippines, tattoos served as powerful symbols of tribal identity, kinship, bravery, beauty, and social standing. They were believed to possess magical properties, acting as protective talismans against malevolent supernatural forces. Consequently, the act of tattooing was considered a sacred ritual, steeped in tradition and ceremony. Imagine the scene. Before a tattoo could begin, certain rituals had to be observed. A sneeze from the artist or the recipient was interpreted as a sign of disapproval from the spirits, leading to the session being immediately halted or rescheduled. Upon completion of a tattoo, a celebration would often be held in its honor, marking the significance of the occasion. And what about ancient Egypt? From the dawn of civilization, tattoos served as more than mere decoration. Imagine thousands of years ago, the earliest uses of ink on skin. They were profound statements of faith, etched onto the body as a dedication to a deity. These weren't idle markings. They were believed to invoke divine protection, a visible plea for the gods' favor. Let's journey to ancient Egypt, where archaeological digs have unearthed tattooed mummies, many of whom were women. Among these, one stands out. Amenet, a priestess of Hathor, her body adorned with a variety of tattoos. Initially, experts speculated that these markings might have been related to medical treatments for ailments of the lower body, or perhaps they indicated a lower social standing. But further examination shattered these assumptions. Amenet, it turned out, was a woman of considerable status. This discovery prompted a new theory. Her tattoos may have served as a protective charm against the trials and tribulations of pregnancy and childbirth, a dangerous journey in those ancient times. Now, let's cross continents and millennia to explore Japan's intricate history with tattoos. As far back as 300 BCE, tattooing for both spiritual and decorative purposes was already widespread. Ancient texts reveal that tattoos and other bodily markings were used to signify social distinctions among the Japanese people. However, zone of intense volcanic and seismic activity encircling the Pacific Ocean. Greater Antarctica, a landmass nearly the size of Australia, encompasses East Antarctica and the South Pole. Beneath the ice, it's an ancient realm, a collection of rocks that have existed for eons, including the special zone we mentioned earlier. Antarctica is, famously, almost entirely devoid of human presence, a consequence of its brutal climate, with an average temperature of around 46 degrees. Yet, even in this seemingly inhospitable environment, life persists, clinging to existence in the hidden underworld. In 2017, scientists made a remarkable discovery. Traces of DNA from algae, moss, and even potentially unknown small animals were detected in deep subglacial caves. This suggests that even in these extreme conditions, unique ecosystems thrive in isolated pockets of warmth beneath the frozen surface. Another incredible discovery occurred beneath Antarctica's Ross Ice Shelf, a thriving ecosystem within an underground river. Scientists had long suspected the existence of freshwater lakes and rivers beneath the Antarctic ice. When a satellite detected a groove in the ice, they decided to investigate. Using a hot water drill, they melted their way through the ice and lowered a camera into one of these hidden rivers. Initially, they anticipated finding nothing more than rocks. Instead, they were greeted by hundreds of amphipods, tiny, shrimp-like creatures. These miniature crustaceans swarmed the camera lens, momentarily obscuring the view and preventing the scientists from fully examining their surroundings. But this unexpected encounter confirmed the existence of a vibrant ecosystem deep within Antarctica. Now, the serious exploration begins. And this is just the beginning of our exploration of this mysterious underworld. Beneath the Antarctic ice also lies the deepest canyon on Earth, buried under the Denman Glacier. While the Mariana Trench remains the deepest point on Earth, it is part of the oceanic crust. The canyon under the Denman Glacier is the deepest continental canyon ever found. Furthermore, in 1958, explorers discovered a massive mountain range beneath the ice, comparable in size and height to the famed Alps. This range stretches for approximately 745 miles, with peaks reaching heights of up to 1.7 miles. All of this magnificence lies hidden beneath tons of ice. Who knows what other secrets lie buried beneath the Antarctic ice? This frozen continent holds approximately 60% of the world's fresh water, of all the fresh water on our entire planet. Imagine the consequences if it were to melt. There's the ominous Thwaites Glacier, a colossal ice formation, officially known as Thwaites Glacier, roughly the size of Florida, and it's currently undergoing a rapid melt. Each year, sea levels rise by approximately 4% due to this single glacier. Should this behemoth completely disappear, global sea levels would surge by an estimated 2 feet. While this might not seem substantial, the impact on coastal regions would be nothing short of catastrophic. Fortunately, recent research suggests that even if its ice shelf were to collapse within the next half-century, the glacier itself wouldn't recede as rapidly as initially feared. However, it's crucial to acknowledge that it's still shedding ice at an alarming rate, although the overall process would be gradual. Life in Antarctica mainly revolves around scientific endeavors. You might spot some wildlife, such as adorable penguins and seals, and occasionally, majestic whales grace the waters. Antarctica stands as one of the largest landmasses solely inhabited by scientists and researchers hailing from every corner of the globe. These dedicated individuals once drilled through incredibly thick ice to analyze ancient air and the atmosphere's self-cleansing mechanisms. They employed a specialized drill to create a pristine cylindrical hole reaching 450 feet beneath the surface. Some of this ice dates back as far as 800,000 years, offering invaluable insights into past climates. It's akin to examining tree rings to ascertain a tree's age, albeit far more intricate. After this impressive feat of drilling, they decided to drop a chunk of ice into the depths of the hole, curious to observe the outcome. What followed was a series of truly bizarre sounds. It felt as though they were aboard a spaceship hurtling through an asteroid field, with countless rocks colliding. The sonic pitches fluctuated wildly as the ice plummeted, transitioning from high-pitched frequencies to a low, almost heartbeat-like resonance. Initially perplexed, the scientists repeated the experiment, only to discover that the same peculiar sounds were produced, albeit with subtle variations. They were unable to determine the source of these sounds, or more importantly, the underlying cause. Antarctica also harbors a surprisingly large number of volcanoes, many concealed beneath immense ice sheets. Scientists have identified 91 volcanoes and suspect there may be more, potentially establishing it as the most extensive volcanic region on Earth. During routine scientific investigations, they stumbled upon numerous unmistakable, large cone-shaped formations beneath the surface. Some were buried as deep as 6 feet within the ice. Some of the peaks soared to heights exceeding 3,000 feet and spanned dozens of miles in width. Yet the surface remained as flat and featureless as a blank sheet of paper. It's conceivable that they dropped that block of ice into an actual volcano without realizing it, but it's unlikely. While the existence of these subterranean volcanoes was discovered serendipitously, there's a remote possibility that their workstation was situated atop one. More realistically, they likely chose an area where studying ancient climates is both easier and less hazardous. They meticulously gather ice samples and analyze them in a laboratory setting. It's akin to unearthing a prehistoric insect encased in amber millions of years ago, during the age of dinosaurs. However, instead of minuscule bugs, scientists scrutinize ancient dust, air bubbles, sea salts, volcanic ash, and any other remnants from the environment. From these relics, they can reconstruct the climate of bygone eras with remarkable precision. These ice samples might reveal that Antarctica. Imagine the Earth's climate warming dramatically. If the western ice sheet were to melt completely, a scenario that has happened before, the consequences would be devastating. Sea levels would rise relentlessly, swallowing coastal cities and submerging small remote islands. The delicate balance of our planet hangs in the balance. But is this a certainty? Scientists are still piecing together the puzzle, sifting through evidence that both supports and challenges this terrifying possibility. The meticulous study of ice samples is a slow, painstaking process. It can take weeks, even a year, to fully analyze a single sample, depending on what secrets it holds within its frozen depths. The process is akin to reading the rings of a prehistoric tree. Each layer of ice tells a story, and the deeper we delve, the further back in time we travel. To unlock the secrets of ancient air bubbles trapped within the ice, researchers must crush the samples under a vacuum hood. This prevents contamination, ensuring the precious air is extracted and carefully sealed in vials for analysis. A multitude of instruments and devices are employed to scrutinize these ice samples, each designed for a specific purpose. However, because ice is so fragile and easily contaminated, every measurement must be conducted within the pristine environment of a clean room. Scientists are encased in protective bodysuits, their hands swathed in multiple layers of gloves, constantly ventilated to prevent even the slightest contamination. A single fingerprint, a seemingly insignificant trace, could ruin an entire sample, rendering months of work useless. These dedicated researchers meticulously search for patterns, subtle shifts in the atmosphere's composition and temperature, clues that reveal the Earth's past climate. Now, imagine dropping a few blocks of ice down a deep hole. It might seem a simple act, but the peculiar sound it produces reveals a fundamental principle of physics: the Doppler effect. This is the same phenomenon that causes the pitch of a car horn to change as the vehicle speeds past. The Doppler effect is a readily apparent shift in the frequency of a wave relative to an observer who is moving in relation to the wave source. The actual frequency of the sound doesn't change. It simply appears to shift due to the relative motion. This effect applies not only to sound waves, but also to other types of waves, such as water and light. When those scientists dropped the ice block into the depths of the hole, the sound waves it created traveled back up, bouncing off the narrow walls of the shaft. This created the unusual sound they heard. Consider this: that ice block plummeted 450 feet below the surface. Oil ships routinely drill holes in the oceanic crust that plunge thousands of feet into the Earth. But the Kola super-deep borehole in Russia remains the deepest hole ever dug by humankind. It extends more than 40,000 feet below the surface, a monumental undertaking that took nearly 2 decades. Animal, as we understand them, could endure these conditions. Or so we might think. Yet, against all odds, this seemingly barren landscape teems with life. An astonishing 48 distinct species of living organisms have been identified within this cave system. Even more remarkable, 33 of these are entirely new to science, species never before seen by human eyes. And these aren't just microscopic bacteria or simple microbes. Something far more substantial dwells in this lightless abyss. Pale, ghostly white snails glide along the cave walls, their shells gleaming in the dim, artificial light of the researchers' lamps. Translucent shrimp, their internal organs visible through their pallid bodies, dart through the murky water. Bizarre, unknown species of leeches undulate through the depths. And on the cave floor, pale centipedes, adorned with enormous sensitive whiskers, scuttle alongside eerie white spiders. These creatures, devoid of pigment and sight, have thrived in this isolated ecosystem for nearly 5 million years. You might even spot a water scorpion, an anomaly that bears little resemblance to its kin found in sun-baked deserts or lush tropical rainforests. Indeed, nothing here appears ordinary. Every animal is either stark white or eerily transparent, adaptations born from a life lived in perpetual darkness. They possess no eyes, but instead rely on elongated paws and sensitive antennae to navigate their three-dimensional world. The deeper one ventures into the cave's embrace, the more the oxygen dwindles, yet the abundance of life paradoxically increases. The air grows thick with methane and carbon dioxide, gases that would prove fatal to most surface dwellers. Every inhabitant of this subterranean world has never witnessed the sun's radiant glow, forever confined to the inky blackness. How can any life form persist in such an environment, one where plants cannot generate oxygen through photosynthesis? The answer lies hidden within a small, unassuming lake. The water's surface is blanketed by an unusual frothy substance. Upon closer inspection, this seemingly inert foam reveals itself to be vibrantly alive, resembling a delicate damp paper that crumbles easily. This extraordinary substance is composed of billions upon billions of chemosynthetic bacteria, known as autotrophs. The cave's atmosphere is saturated with carbon dioxide, far exceeding the levels found outside. These bacteria, much like plants, greedily absorb this gas. However, instead of relying on photosynthesis and sunlight, they employ chemosynthesis, extracting energy from chemical reactions within the water. The byproducts of these bacteria then become sustenance for other microbial life, which in turn serves as a food source for the larger creatures inhabiting the cave. It's a completely unique food cycle, an isolated ecosystem unlike any other on our planet. In stark contrast, imagine a scene of devastation, a testament to the unforgiving power of nature. In 1952, a U.S. Air Force plane, a C-124 Globemaster II, met its tragic end when it crashed into a towering mountain while en route from Washington to Alaska. All 52 souls on board perished in the disaster. The treacherous weather conditions at the time hampered initial search efforts, and for decades the crash site remained elusive. But in 2012, a helicopter crew on a training mission stumbled upon fragments of the wreckage scattered across Colony Glacier in Alaska. Further investigation confirmed the grim discovery. It was indeed the long-lost Globemaster. Since then, every summer for nearly a decade, various military groups have participated in Operation Colony Glacier, a somber mission to recover the remains of the fallen. To date, they have successfully identified 40 of the 52 individuals who tragically lost their lives in the crash. The soldiers involved in this operation are driven by a profound sense of duty, upholding their solemn promise to never abandon a fallen comrade. They believe it is their sacred responsibility to bring these lost heroes home. Shifting continents and millennia away, another discovery unfolds high in the Alps. In 1991, hikers exploring the breathtaking scenery of the Ötzi Alps stumbled upon a macabre sight. A human body partially entombed in ice near the summit of a mountain pass straddling the border between Italy and Austria. Initially, local authorities suspected a mountaineering accident. However, within weeks, archaeologists arrived on the scene, and the true significance of the find began to emerge. They even speculated, accompanied by dramatic music, that this individual might have walked the earth over 5,000 years in the past. Eventually, this frozen man was given a nickname. He became known as Ötzi, named in honor of the nearby Ötz Valley where he was discovered. He has achieved considerable fame, recognized as the oldest ice mummy ever found. However, Ötzi's remarkably preserved state might not be as unique as initially believed, and that's where the story takes an even more fascinating turn. Archaeologists are now proposing a new theory. Initially, it was widely assumed that Ötzi's discovery signaled the beginning of a particularly cold period, suggesting he had remained continuously frozen since his death. But in recent decades, glaciers and ice patches across the globe have been melting at an alarming rate, like ice cream left out on a scorching summer day. This isn't just affecting the landscape. Other ancient artifacts are emerging, including human remains, hunting tools, horse manure, and even ancient skis. This has led archaeologists to believe that there are numerous similar sites waiting to be discovered. They've already identified several, all fitting neatly into the burgeoning field of glacial archaeology. As the world experiences rising temperatures, it seems that even more ancient secrets will be revealed from their icy tombs. Switching gears to another incredible find. In 2018, William Taylor and Nick Garr ventured into the Altai Mountains of Mongolia, exploring its snow-covered slopes. There, hidden within the ice, they unearthed an ancient treasure. Inside this icy trove was a remarkably well-preserved arrow shaft dating back 3,000 years, decorated with ochre markings. It was in astonishingly pristine condition, a rare occurrence for organic materials of such age. They also discovered other artifacts, such as a bronze arrowhead still bearing traces of animal sinew. All these relics had remained untouched for millennia, perfectly preserved within the ice. Across Mongolia, rising temperatures are causing ice patches that have remained frozen for centuries to thaw. Similar discoveries have been reported in the Yukon, parts of the United States, Italy, Siberia, and Norway. Thousands of potential sites have been identified, prompting scientists to race against time to document and preserve these artifacts before they are lost forever to the elements. The study of these artifacts is challenging conventional understandings of these environments as untouched wildernesses. It reveals the intricate ways in which indigenous populations coexisted with nature in these regions. Sometimes these finds are as simple as a sandal. One such discovery, found on a mountain pass in central Norway, indicates that people traversed this route approximately 1700 years ago. This suggests that the area experienced less snow and ice during that period. The sandal, dating back to around 300 BCE, bears a striking resemblance to Roman sandals from the same era. Elsewhere in Norway, hunters stumbled upon an iron sword high in the mountains over 5,250 feet above sea level. With no burial site nearby, it remains a mystery why someone would carry a sword to such a remote location. Archaeologists speculate that the owner may have become lost. Then, in 2011, strange objects resembling giant slingshots began to surface as the ice melted. Radiocarbon dating placed the creation of these objects around 400 BCE. Measuring over 3 feet in length and bearing distinct knife cuts, these objects initially baffled archaeologists. However, one team member recognized them as toggles or pliers used to secure loads on sleds when transporting hay or animal fodder. These hay sleds with pliers were used in the region until the 1950s, when tractors became more widespread. Now let's journey back thousands of years by examining a woolly mammoth. This particular specimen appears almost like a beloved, slightly worn-out toy. This ancient giant, which roamed the earth around 39,000 years ago, is the best preserved mammoth ever discovered. Even its characteristic shaggy hair remains surprisingly intact, having been perfectly preserved within the glacial ice until its recent discovery. Let's journey to the icy plains of Siberia, where a breathtaking discovery has recently been made. This incredible creature is now taking center stage in Yokohama, Japan, as scientists embark on a groundbreaking endeavor. Their mission? To potentially resurrect this long-gone species. It all began when they stumbled upon a remarkably preserved female mammoth. But this was no ordinary find. It was a treasure trove. Deep within the icy depths, they unearthed a sample of her blood, perfectly preserved by the relentless cold. Scientists now believe that this ancient blood may hold the very 170 years, the frigid waters had preserved the ship in astonishing condition. Scientists described it as being frozen in time. Dinner plates and glasses remained on shelves, and beds and desks stood undisturbed, offering a ghostly glimpse into the final days of the Franklin expedition. Let's journey back to the frigid waters of the Arctic. A salvage team meticulously unearths the wreck of a long-lost vessel. Remarkably, even the passenger's luggage appears surprisingly well preserved. Nearby, the remains of the HMS Erebus are also located, although the relentless currents and shifting ice have taken a heavy toll on its wooden frame. Now, imagine a mountain pass in Norway, a route carved through glacial ice, notoriously favored by Viking explorers. As the ice melts, it reveals secrets frozen in time. Hundreds of ancient artifacts emerge from their icy tombs. Among these relics, a massive wooden box, its planks tightly sealed, captures the attention of researchers. Anticipation hangs heavy in the air as they prepare to unlock its mysteries. Could it contain Viking treasures, priceless artifacts that would illuminate the lives of these ancient seafarers? But upon opening the box, the grand expectations are deflated. Inside lies a simple beeswax candle. Further investigation reveals that the box is not as ancient as initially believed, dating back only to the 17th century, long after the Viking Age had ended. It's now believed the candle box likely belonged to a farmer transporting goods between summer and winter farms, seeking to brighten the long, dark nights of the Scandinavian winter. Now, transport yourself to Siberia. The biting wind whips across the desolate landscape, stinging any exposed skin. The endless expanse of snow reflects the sun, creating a blinding glare. This is a land of permafrost, a landscape eerily reminiscent of Antarctica. Here, a team of scientists ventures to explore one of the region's icy rivers. With the aid of a powerful drilling rig, they extract samples of the frozen earth. What they discover within the ice sends shockwaves through the scientific community. Living creatures, suspended in time. Back in the laboratory, analysis reveals the creatures to be microscopic, multi-celled organisms known as deloid rotifers. These tiny beings, resembling miniature worms, possess an astonishing ability to survive in frozen conditions. Scientists previously believed they could endure such conditions for up to a decade. However, these rotifers had been entombed in the ice for approximately 24,000 years. Upon thawing, they miraculously spring back to life, resuming their reproductive cycle as if they had merely been asleep for a few hours, not millennia. Further research indicates these organisms can remain frozen for hundreds of thousands of years, potentially dating back to a time before the invention of the wheel. But their resilience doesn't end there. Deloid rotifers are among the most radiation-resistant animals on Earth. They can thrive in environments devoid of oxygen and water, withstand high levels of acidity, and endure prolonged periods without sustenance. And they are not alone in their ability to defy time. Certain types of moss and microorganisms also exhibit near-immortal characteristics. Consider the nematodes, also known as roundworms, some of the most adaptable worms on our planet. Picture the Eiffel Tower, standing tall and proud. Now, imagine it 10 times taller and buried deep beneath the Earth's surface. It is at this incredible depth, thousands of feet below ground, that scientists have discovered these remarkable creatures. Here, in a realm of perpetual darkness and minimal air, closer to the Earth's molten core, temperatures soar far beyond those of the hottest deserts. The immense weight of millions of tons of soil creates crushing pressure. Yet, even in this extreme environment, life finds a way. When faced with a lack of air, food, or unbearable temperatures, these roundworms enter a state of suspended animation, a deep hibernation. Their metabolism slows to a near standstill, and all bodily processes grind to a halt. In this state, they can slumber for eons, awakening only when conditions become more favorable. But you don't need to venture to such extreme depths to find nematodes. They are ubiquitous, thriving in environments ranging from scorching hot springs to the familiar soil beneath our feet. Imagine creatures dwelling in the most extreme places on Earth. Arid deserts baking under the sun, the crushing depths of the ocean, the icy peaks of mountains, even the frozen wastes of Antarctica. Astonishingly, Life finds a way, even inside other animals and humans. And among the most resilient are the incredible tardigrades, often called water bears. These microscopic marvels, tiny eight-legged invertebrates, are close relatives of the arthropods. 2. Small to see with the naked eye, a simple microscope reveals their fascinating details. They resemble miniature bears and are known as water bears because they require a thin film of moisture around their bodies to prevent fatal dehydration. Tardigrades, tardigrada, have been discovered in nearly every environment imaginable, from the deepest ocean trenches to the shifting sands of dunes. Their incredible robustness stems from their unique biological structure. They might appear soft and vulnerable, but these tiny creatures are covered in a tough, protective cuticle. This coating is similar to the exoskeletons found on grasshoppers, praying mantises, and countless other insects. Like those insects, water bears shed their old cuticle as they grow, revealing a new layer beneath. Each of their 8 legs is equipped with 4 to 6 tiny claws, allowing them to cling to almost any surface. These bears can withstand temperatures nearly 3 times colder than the icy plains of Antarctica. But heat poses no greater threat. They have been proven to survive in temperatures that would boil water. Furthermore, water bears laugh in the face of radiation and extreme pressure. In the crushing depths of the ocean, where pressure can obliterate even the strongest metal alloys, these creatures withstand pressures 6 times greater. But perhaps their most astonishing feat is survival in the vacuum of space. Our planet possesses a magnetic field, a shield that protects us from deadly solar radiation. Tardigrades need no such protection. They can journey into near-Earth orbit and return completely unharmed, thanks to a unique protein that safeguards their DNA from ionizing radiation. Like other virtually immortal organisms, water bears can enter a state of cryptobiosis. In this state, the tardigrade retracts its head and legs into its body, essentially falling into a deep sleep. When faced with freezing temperatures, desiccation, or a lack of oxygen, they transform into a dormant ton state, remaining in this barrel-like form until conditions improve. So, we've explored microscopic organisms and microbes, invisible to the naked eye, that possess incredible resilience. But what about something larger? Let's turn our attention to the ironclad beetle. Found in the southwestern United States and Mexico, these insects may not survive extreme heat, oxygen deprivation, or intense radiation, but their exoskeletons are so incredibly tough that they can only be pierced with a drill or a hammer. Their durable exoskeletons are composed of chitin, a special substance also found in the armor of crabs and shrimp. However, the chitin in the ironclad beetle, Zophoris nodulosus, is so exceptionally robust that it can withstand the impact of a car traveling at high speed. When danger threatens, they retract their antennae and sturdy legs into special recesses within their shell. Predators quickly discover that they cannot bite through this formidable armor and are forced to spit the beetle out, seeking a meal elsewhere. Once the danger passes, the beetle extends its legs and continues on its way. Furthermore, this remarkable armor protects the beetle from dehydration, a crucial advantage in the arid landscapes of Mexico and the southwestern U.S. The exoskeleton allows them to store moisture, absorbing water whenever it's available and transporting this precious liquid within their armored shell. Now, let's consider creatures that are incredibly fragile, yet possess the remarkable ability to thrive where almost no other animals can survive. Our journey takes us to the southeast of Romania, near the Black Sea. Here, on a desolate, expansive plain, we find a gaping pit, a mine shaft plunging deep beneath the surface. Imagine a world where the very air is poison, where sunlight never penetrates, and life clings on in the most unexpected ways. Usually, the air we breathe on the surface of our planet contains around 20% oxygen, a vital element for nearly all life. But deep within this mine, that life-giving gas is drastically reduced, plummeting to a mere 10%, and that's not all. The atmosphere inside this subterranean realm is further tainted with elevated levels of hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide, creating a suffocating cocktail. Any human venturing into this environment would be unable to survive without the aid of a self-contained breathing apparatus. It's safe to say that both the water and the air here are lethally toxic, almost no times saltier than the ocean. The water is also rich in iron and devoid of oxygen and sunlight. As this iron-laden water seeps through cracks in the glacier and encounters the open air, the iron oxidizes, creating a striking red rust color. While it's often said that no insects inhabit Antarctica, this isn't entirely accurate. A tiny Antarctic midge manages to survive in this extreme environment. And that's not all. There are spiders too. However, these aren't your typical household spiders. These creatures lurk in the frigid depths of the Antarctic ocean floor. These marine arthropods can reach up to 20 inches in length and breathe through tiny holes in their legs. When you picture Antarctica, what color comes to mind? Most likely it's white. But imagine Antarctica looking like a slice of watermelon, streaked with vibrant colors. This colorful snow is thanks to a resilient algae known as Chlamydomonas nivalis. During the Antarctic summer, as temperatures rise, these algae release red and green spores, painting the snow in surreal hues. But beware, this colorful snow is toxic and definitely not edible. The search for fossils is thrilling, but when conducted in one of the most remote locations on Earth, it becomes an extraordinary adventure. Recently, a dedicated team of scientists struck paleontological gold, unearthing over a ton of fossils of ancient marine creatures, dinosaurs, and birds dating back to the late Cretaceous period, around 71 million years ago. Their expedition began with a flight to South America, followed by a challenging 5-day journey through the infamous Drake Passage. Upon reaching Antarctica, they established a base camp using helicopters and inflatable boats. Why excavate in Antarctica with all its ice and snow? It turns out that certain areas have exposed rock formations, depending on the season. The team focused on James Ross Island, located in the Antarctic Peninsula, during February and March. This region offers some of the few exposed rock formations in Antarctica during the summer months, where the ancient rocks lie exposed, sometimes dating back to the very age of dinosaurs. The expedition proved incredibly fruitful, unearthing over a ton of remarkable fossil specimens. These finds are now headed to Chile for preliminary analysis before their final journey to the prestigious Carnegie Museum of Natural History in Pittsburgh. Among the treasures discovered were relics stretching back approximately 71 million years, along with others around 67 million years old. These included a multitude of snails, clams, and various other marine creatures that once thrived in these ancient waters. But prepare yourself for something truly unsettling. Behold this creepy sea worm. It looks like it could easily star in a horror movie, yet it calls the frigid waters surrounding Antarctica its home. These segmented worms can grow up to 8 inches long and 4 inches wide, but don't let their nightmarish appearance fool you. Research suggests that they may play a vital role in maintaining the delicate balance of the Antarctic ecosystem. And that strange-looking blob? It's not actually a head. It's a retractable throat, armed with teeth, that this creature uses to devour its meals. Antarctica holds many such bizarre creatures. Now, let me introduce you to the Antarctic strawberry feather star. But this is no friendly starfish like Patrick from SpongeBob. This is a deep-sea creature ripped straight from the pages of a horror film. Imagine 20 wriggling arms, some extending up to 8 inches, all adorned with bizarre alien-looking bumps. Truly a sight to behold, and perhaps to fear. Back in 2014, scientists embarked on an ambitious project, burying 34 seismic monitors deep within the snow of the Ross Ice Shelf. This ice shelf is immense, an icy slab the size of Texas, floating majestically over the Southern Ocean. These sophisticated instruments picked up a nearly constant buzzing. While these low-frequency sounds are typically beyond the range of human hearing, scientists ingeniously processed them to make them audible. They even shared this eerie audio online. According to a glaciologist from the University of Chicago, if you could naturally hear this vibration, it would sound like a massive swarm of cicadas descending upon your backyard in the height of summer. But these intrepid glacier explorers weren't simply looking for spooky sound effects. Their mission was to monitor the Ross Ice Shelf as temperatures are rising and the ice is melting at an alarming rate, faster than ice cream on a scorching summer day. Ice shelves act as crucial safety plugs, preventing the vast quantities of ice on land from surging into the ocean and causing catastrophic sea level rise. So, what is the source of this constant, unsettling noise? It's likely the powerful winds whipping across the ice, dunes, creating a form of natural large-scale vibration. Antarctica. Once a verdant land teeming with dinosaurs, now a frozen continent larger than the United States. A land that belongs to no one. To find it, simply head south until you reach the massive icy landmass at the South Pole. It lies within the Antarctic Circle and represents the largest single mass of ice on our planet. This continent is larger than the US, even larger than all of Europe combined. Yet, its official discovery is relatively recent. Scientists were unaware of its existence until 1820. Even after its discovery, it took another 2 decades to confirm that it was indeed a separate continent, and several more decades to decide upon a name. The name Antarctica literally means opposite of the Arctic. Even before its discovery, ancient Greek scholars theorized the existence of a southern continent to balance out the Arctic in the north. Furthermore, some researchers believe that Polynesian explorers may have discovered the continent over 1,000 years before Western scientists, based on their artwork and oral histories. What Europeans could not achieve for centuries, humanity has now accomplished. Today, we all recognize that icy expanse at the bottom of the world, Antarctica. Its extreme location dictates a stark, binary existence, a 6-month summer and a 6-month winter. During the summer months, a weak sun bathes the continent in perpetual daylight, bringing marginally warmer temperatures. But during winter, darkness reigns, a polar night that stretches for half the year. Imagine a land almost entirely encased in ice. 98% of Antarctica is precisely that. This single continent holds a staggering 60% of Earth's fresh water. Yet, paradoxically, Antarctica is the largest desert on our planet. The definition of a desert hinges on scarce vegetation and minimal precipitation, not necessarily sand. While Antarctica possesses some sandy regions, even sand dunes, it's primarily defined by its ferocious winds. Picture this. Antarctica is the windiest continent on Earth, with wind speeds that can surge to a terrifying 200 millimeters. That's a force exceeding even the most powerful hurricane. The scant snowfall that graces the land never truly melts. Instead, it accumulates relentlessly, building layer upon layer over centuries, millennia even. This creates an immense, thick ice sheet, a frozen vault concealing untold secrets. Beneath this icy armor lies a hidden world. Mountains, for example, rise to impressive heights, some reaching 9,000 feet. Imagine stacking 3 Burj Khalifas, the world's tallest skyscraper, on top of each other. That's the scale we're talking about. But these peaks remain unseen, buried beneath nearly 16,000 feet of solid ice. There's even a lake down there, Lake Vostok, entombed beneath over 11,000 feet of ice. Named after the Vostok research station that sits above it, its existence was initially just a scientific hunch. Over a century ago, a visionary scientist theorized that the immense pressure exerted by tons of ice could lower the melting point of the ice at the bottom, creating liquid water and, ultimately, a subglacial lake. While he never lived to prove his theory, his successors confirmed its validity. And that's not all. A colossal canyon also hides beneath Antarctica's icy cloak, dwarfing even the Grand Canyon of Arizona in its depth. A massive mountain range cleaves the continent into 2 distinct halves, East Antarctica and West Antarctica. Worryingly, West Antarctica is experiencing accelerated warming and glacial melt. Should West Antarctica's ice sheet collapse entirely, releasing its stored water, global sea levels would rise by an estimated 16 feet. This catastrophic event would submerge numerous coastal cities worldwide. Bangkok, Thailand, a city just 5 feet above sea level, would likely be among the first to vanish beneath the waves. Amsterdam, Netherlands, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, Cardiff, UK, and New Orleans, USA, would follow. Today, Antarctica is a hub of scientific endeavor, with researchers spending months at a time unraveling the continent's mysteries. Remarkably, a few children have even been born on this icy land. Yet, Antarctica remains a land without a nation, belonging to no single entity. It is governed by the Antarctic Treaty System, a testament to peaceful research and collaboration that supersedes all territorial claims. Initially signed by 12 nations, the treaty now boasts 59 signatories, half of whom wield decision-making power. Researchers from across the globe occupy the continent year-round, with a summer population of around 5,000 and a winter contingent of approximately 1,000. However, no one is a permanent resident. Scientists come and go, taking turns in their pursuit of knowledge in this extraordinary place. But what is the average yearly temperature there? Today, Antarctica is a realm of ice and snow, where temperatures can plummet to a bone-chilling 30 degrees Celsius. But imagine a time, millions of years ago, around 40 to 50 million years in the past, when this frozen continent was as warm as Melbourne, Australia, is today. A balmy 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Picture lush, green forests stretching across the landscape, with dinosaurs roaming freely under the sun. It's hard to believe, but this was Antarctica before the penguins arrived. In our time, the only plants that can survive the extreme cold are lichens, moss, and algae. The conditions are so harsh that humans can't endure them for long periods. As a result, Antarctica has never had an indigenous human population. That is, if we don't count the penguins, seals, whales, and the few bird species that call this place home. Antarctica's wildlife is both the most unique and the least diverse on Earth. Only a handful of species can withstand its brutal environment. Moreover, strict regulations prohibit introducing non-native species. So, if you were planning to bring your cat on a trip to Antarctica, think again. But the few species that have adapted to the South Pole truly rule the roost. With only about 5,000 people present at research stations, they are vastly outnumbered by the 20 million penguins. The penguins themselves are relatively new settlers. Their earliest ancestors originated in Australia and New Zealand. A few penguin species still reside there today, including the smallest penguin on Earth, which stands just 1 foot tall. However, the majority of penguins migrated to Antarctica, likely drawn by the abundant food supply. Surprisingly, it wasn't the cold that attracted them to this icy land. In fact, most penguins leave the continent when summer ends. Only the male emperor penguins remain, bravely enduring the winter to incubate and protect the eggs left behind by their mates. So, where do the other penguins go? For a long time, this was a mystery to scientists. But by attaching tiny tracking devices to the legs of these birds, they finally uncovered the truth. Penguins spend the Antarctic winter in the southern oceans, returning to the continent only when the eggs are ready to hatch. This allows penguin families to reunite just in time for the arrival of their chicks. Penguins feed on various fish species, and the ocean teems with life despite the frigid temperatures. In some areas, the water can drop below freezing, but the fish survive thanks to antifreeze proteins in their bodies. Alongside the penguins, Antarctica is home to approximately 1 million seals. Like penguins, they also enjoy feasting on fish. Seals can hold their breath for up to 2 hours underwater, where they have much better vision than in the bright sunlight. They also rely on their sensitive whiskers to locate prey. Seals often create breathing holes in the ice, which can freeze over while they are away. To reopen them, they must use their strong teeth. Remarkably, seals can even sleep underwater, surfacing occasionally for air without fully waking up. But the South Pole is more than just penguins and endless stretches of snow. Beneath the ice, a hidden world awaits. Don't confuse Antarctica with the Arctic, which is located at the top of our maps and is significantly smaller and arguably less mysterious. The massive ice sheet covering Antarctica is between 1 and 3 miles thick. That's like stacking 16 Eiffel Towers on top of each other. This immense blanket of ice conceals the true landscape and features of the continent below. Imagine a land shrouded in mystery, a place of ice and snow that holds secrets from a time long past. We're talking about Antarctica, a continent that has guarded its ancient history for millions of years. Even today, we struggle to grasp its true form, its size hidden beneath a thick, icy blanket. Mapping Antarctica is no easy task, but thanks to satellite technology, we've begun to peel back the layers of ice and reveal a dramatic ancient landscape lurking beneath. It's like uncovering a ghost of the past, a frozen memory of a world transformed. Let's journey back roughly 90 million years. Picture Antarctica then. Not a frozen wasteland, but a vibrant rainforest, teeming with plant life and undoubtedly abundant animal life. Rivers snaked through the landscape, nourishing a world far removed from the icy desert we know today. But the ice was coming. Around 34 million years ago, as the Eocene epoch transitioned into the Oligocene, our planet experienced a significant cooling period. This marked the beginning of a series of ice ages, a dramatic shift that would forever alter Antarctica's destiny. The land remained, but it was gradually entombed beneath layers of ice and snow, growing thicker with each passing year. To the casual observer, Antarctica transformed into a vast, flat, and seemingly featureless white desert. Over millennia, the colossal ice sheet relentlessly moved, grinding and reshaping the land beneath its immense weight. The original South Pole landscape was slowly erased, save for one remarkable exception. In regions where the ice is exceptionally thick and relatively immobile, particularly in East Antarctica, something extraordinary occurred. The ice acted as a super-thick protective blanket, shielding the land from the erosive forces of wind and rain. These natural processes, which constantly reshape landscapes, were effectively blocked. As a result, the ground beneath this protective ice blanket remained remarkably unchanged for millions of years, frozen in time. This unique area, nestled near the Aurora and Schmidt subglacial basins, has become a veritable ghost of Antarctica's ancient landscape. Virtually untouched since its icy entombment 34 million years ago, this area represents a historical footprint, a window into Antarctica's pre-Ice Age world. It holds clues to what the continent looked like before it became the freezing nightmare it is today. As scientists peered beneath the East Antarctic ice sheet, they uncovered an astonishing sight: the preserved traces of ancient rivers, winding valleys, peculiar island formations, and 3 massive landforms shaped like the letter U. What could explain these unusual formations? Consider the Earth's continents, constantly drifting across the molten mantle like cereal in a bowl of milk. Throughout history, they've collided and separated countless times. Hundreds of millions of years ago, several continents were part of a supercontinent known as Gondwana, and Antarctica was among them. When Gondwana fragmented, Antarctica bore the brunt of tectonic forces. Parts of the continent were stretched and pulled apart, resulting in the tearing and separation of land masses. This dramatic geological event is responsible for the large chunks of land that now lie buried beneath the thick ice. Undeterred, scientists are eager to further explore this frozen ghost of the past. To delve deeper, they plan to drill through the ice, much like using a straw to sample the bottom of a milkshake. This will allow them to retrieve rock and soil samples from the depths, unlocking invaluable insights into Earth's history and climate. Antarctica, the 5th largest continent, dwarfs the entirety of Europe or Australia. Imagine a landmass, colossal in scale, rivaling the entire continent of South America. This is Antarctica, a realm of ice and mystery. But beyond the familiar image of a frozen wasteland lies a hidden world, a subterranean landscape more alien than the surface of Mars. Beyond East Antarctica, with its secrets already discussed, lie other distinct regions. The Antarctic Peninsula, the South Pole itself, West Antarctica, and the frigid Ross Sea. The continent, in essence, is a vast, frozen sandbox. Its true form, concealed beneath layers of ice, remains largely unexplored. What secrets does it hold? We know this much. Without its icy shroud, Antarctica would be far from flat and featureless. Instead, a dramatic topography would be revealed: towering mountains, immense canyons, and even active volcanoes puncturing the icy surface. Some of these volcanoes are colossal, their peaks rising above the seemingly endless expanse of snow and ice. West Antarctica alone boasts at least 138 volcanoes, with approximately 8 or 9 currently exhibiting signs of activity. Among the most remarkable is Mount Erebus, the southernmost active volcano on Earth and the tallest on the continent, soaring to approximately 2,500 feet. Deep beneath the ice sheet, this fiery giant hosts a network of incredible subglacial caves where the temperature is surprisingly mild, warm enough to comfortably wear a t-shirt. The Antarctic Peninsula, also known as Lesser Antarctica, appears to be a collection of mountainous islands deeply submerged beneath the ice. This region is characterized by relatively young volcanic rocks, a part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, a vast, scarlet hue, a rusty blood-like flow. Antarctica, a land of extremes, is the only place on Earth where this extraordinary natural phenomenon can be witnessed. And then there are the McMurdo Dry Valleys, among the driest places on our planet. A true desert, yet unlike any other. Forget the scorching sun, the endless dunes, and the hardy cacti. This is a desert defined by the utter absence of precipitation, and consequently, of life. Uniquely, this region is almost entirely devoid of glaciers. Despite the freezing temperatures, ice simply cannot form here, as rain and snow are virtually unknown. Relentless katabatic winds, howling down from the mountains at speeds reaching 200 miles per hour, faster than a Formula One race car, scour the landscape. To stand against such a force would be a monumental challenge. These winds, paradoxically, carry minute amounts of moisture. Their incredible velocity causes the air to heat and evaporate any trace of liquid or snow, leaving the ground utterly parched. Yet even here, life finds a way. A handful of lakes persist, their waters prevented from freezing only by an incredibly high concentration of salt. The salinity is so extreme that larger organisms cannot survive. However, microscopic life clings on, a testament to nature's tenacity. Imagine 20 million years ago, a vastly different Antarctica. A landscape of lush swamps and forests, teeming with insects and animals. Now, it bears an uncanny resemblance to the surface of Mars. Indeed, scientists and astronauts study regions like the McMurdo Dry Valleys precisely because their harsh conditions mimic those of the Red Planet. It's a terrestrial training ground for future Martian explorers. Before venturing to Mars, one can hone their survival skills in these alien-like environments here on Earth. Intriguingly, scientists have also discovered a hidden underwater realm in Antarctica, teeming with hundreds of amphipods, small crustacean animals akin to shrimp. But wait, a potential point of confusion arises. We've spoken of the Antarctic and the McMurdo Dry Valleys, both seemingly within the same region. And let's not forget the Arctic. The Antarctic is the region encompassing the southernmost part of our globe and the continent of Antarctica itself. The Arctic, however, is an entirely separate realm. While both share similar harsh conditions, frost, ice, and snow, they are located at opposite ends of the Earth. The Arctic sits at the North Pole, while Antarctica is enthroned at the South Pole. Now, returning to our underwater discovery. Scientists have long theorized that beneath the Antarctic ice lies a vast network of freshwater rivers and lakes. And in 2022, their suspicions were confirmed with the discovery of a thriving, previously unknown ecosystem beneath the Ross Ice Shelf. Imagine a colossal slab of ice, an ice shelf adrift in the vast ocean, concealing secrets beneath its frozen surface. A dedicated team of researchers from New Zealand ventured to explore this icy realm, employing a specialized drilling rig. This rig, equipped with a high-pressure hot water system, bored a narrow shaft through the seemingly endless ice, plunging to an astonishing depth of 1,140 feet. To put that into perspective, that's far greater than the towering height of the iconic Empire State Building. Then, they carefully deployed video cameras into the frigid abyss. What the cameras revealed was truly astonishing. A teeming metropolis of crustaceans, thousands upon thousands of them, darting about in a chaotic, unorganized frenzy. But the Antarctic waters hold more than just disorganized crustaceans. Here, in the crushing depths, lurk some of the most unsettling creatures on our planet, the sea spiders. These denizens of the deep earn their name from their uncanny resemblance to terrestrial spiders, but they are, in fact, a distinct species of marine arthropods. Unlike their land-based cousins, however, these ocean-dwelling arachnids can grow to an enormous size. Picture 8 formidable legs splayed out from a barely there body. One of these creatures could easily span the size of a dinner plate. Some of these bizarre beings lack eyes entirely, instead possessing proboscises in place of jaws. The sea spiders remain largely a mystery to science, dwelling as they do in the extreme depths and frigid temperatures of the Antarctic Ocean. Antarctica, a land of stark beauty and unforgiving conditions, safeguards numerous undiscovered species. Within its glaciers lie extensive tunnel networks leading into impenetrable darkness. It's here, on this continent of ice and snow, that paleontologists have unearthed the fossilized remains of colossal dinosaurs and other prehistoric creatures, including the ancestors of modern ducks. Countless subterranean rivers and lakes conceal unexplored ecosystems teeming with life. Even the ice itself can exhibit strange and wonderful phenomena. Behold the striped icebergs, adorned with vibrant bands of blue, black, green, and turquoise. The coloration is dictated by the specific conditions of the water during the freezing process. For example, green stripes are often caused by the presence of algae, while blue stripes indicate rapid freezing. But enough of the cold for now. Let's journey to somewhere warmer. Hawaii, perhaps? Wait a minute. Lush coniferous forests and sprawling tundra? This isn't the tropical paradise we were expecting. You might be forgiven for mistaking this landscape for Canada, but this is, in fact, Antarctica. Approximately 34 million years ago. So, what transformed Antarctica into the frozen wasteland we know today? The answer lies in a combination of factors, including a dramatic decline in atmospheric carbon dioxide levels and significant tectonic plate movement. Around 50 million years ago, carbon dioxide concentrations were incredibly high, hovering between 1,000 and 2,000 parts per million. As these levels plummeted, global temperatures followed suit, paving the way for the colossal ice sheets that would eventually engulf Antarctica. While this CO2 reduction was underway, tectonic forces were also reshaping the planet. The separation of South America and Antarctica led to the formation of the Drake Passage, giving rise to the Antarctic Circumpolar Current. This powerful current acts like a natural barrier, preventing warm air and ocean currents from reaching Antarctica and helping to maintain its frigid climate. If you sometimes confuse Australia and Antarctica, you're not entirely wrong. These two continents were once joined together. However, mistaking Austria for Australia is a far greater error, and, despite what you might see online, there is no dedicated help desk in Austria for travelers who accidentally booked flights to the wrong continent. Now, feast your eyes on the stunning pink beaches of Australia. These shores are precious, quite literally. The mysterious pink hue of the sand comes from garnet, a mineral widely used in jewelry. Geologists studying these sands have discovered that the garnet they contain is older than the local mountains. This may seem paradoxical, but it makes perfect sense when you consider Australia's ancient history. Millions of years ago, Australia and Antarctica were part of the supercontinent Gondwana. Glacial erosion released the garnet, which was then transported to the coast. These sands began to form when South Australia was a flat, tranquil landscape, long before the mountains rose from the earth. While most of the garnet has since been washed away, imagine, if you will, a land of ice and snow, concealing secrets millions of years old. Even the very sand beneath your feet holds a story. The pink sand found in some parts of Antarctica isn't just any sand. It's derived from ancient glacial rocks originating in the Transantarctic Mountains. This means the vibrant hues come from a mountain range, now largely hidden beneath the immense Antarctic ice sheet. But Antarctica's icy grip holds more than just colorful sand and geological history. Legend has it that beneath the frozen expanse lie entire buildings, remnants of a forgotten past. Sounds like something out of a science fiction novel, doesn't it? Yet, a British explorer named Chris Brown made just such a discovery. Venturing towards the pole of inaccessibility, his journey took an unexpected turn when, after his plane broke down, he and his son spotted a structure emerging from the snow. It turned out to be an old meteorological station entombed in ice. Despite the harsh freezing conditions, Chris and his son Micah explored the site. Chris is on a quest to reach all 7 of Earth's poles of inaccessibility, and he has already conquered 5. Antarctica, the driest continent on Earth, dwarfs even the Sahara and Gobi deserts in size. Yet within this arid landscape flows a truly bizarre waterfall. Hidden within the McMurdo dry valleys, this 5-story cascade appears to gush blood-red liquid. Appropriately named Blood Falls, its appearance is both outlandish and unsettling. The explanation, however, lies in the unique geological conditions. The crimson water originates from a salty lake that became isolated from the outside world as glaciers formed above it. This ancient body of water, trapped 300 feet below the surface, has become incredibly concentrated with salt. 3. By the 17th century, a darker association emerged. Criminals were branded with tattoos as a form of punishment, a visible mark of their transgressions. By the mid-19th century, tattoos were outlawed altogether. Those who bore them were stigmatized, seen as lacking respectability. This, in turn, spawned a subculture of outcasts, individuals who would eventually form the roots of the notorious Yakuza. But how did tattoos transition to the modern expressive art form we recognize in the Western world today? The answer lies with Captain James Cook, the famed British explorer. Between 1768 and 1779, Cook embarked on 3 epic voyages to the South Pacific. During one of these journeys, he encountered the vibrant cultures of the Tahitian Islands and was immediately struck by their tradition of tattooing. Landing on those shores, he was astonished by the heavily tattooed men and women. Compelled to document this remarkable art form, he adopted the term tattoo after hearing a similar-sounding word used by the locals to describe their markings. Before Cook's voyages, the practice was simply referred to as scarring, painting, or staining. Upon their return to England, many of Cook's crewmen proudly displayed the tattoos they had acquired during their travels. This sparked a tattoo tradition among sailors, who began using these markings to chronicle their voyages. An anchor, for example, signified a successful crossing of the Atlantic Ocean. A shellback turtle denoted a sailor who had crossed the equator. These early nautical tattoos paved the way for what would become the traditional style of tattooing. By the 19th century, tattoos had transcended their association with sailors and infiltrated the upper echelons of British society. During the 1870s, they became a fashionable statement among the upper classes and even royalty. Notable figures, such as Lady Randolph Churchill, Winston Churchill's mother, the Prince of Wales, the future Edward VII, his sons, and several relatives of Queen Victoria, all sported tattoos. Rumor even had it that Queen Victoria herself secretly bore a tattoo of a tiger battling a python, discreetly placed where it could easily be concealed. By the late 1880s, tattoos had become a symbol of wealth and status, a far cry from their earlier associations with sailors and outcasts. The year 1891 marked a turning point in the history of tattooing. Samuel O'Reilly, a New York City tattoo artist, revolutionized the craft by inventing the electric tattoo machine. O'Reilly's ingenious design was based on a modification of Thomas Edison's electric pen, originally intended for businesses to duplicate documents. It was around this time that, in the early 20th century, tattooed women began to emerge, though initially they were primarily performers in circuses, offering entertainment to curious onlookers. While the popularity of circus acts eventually waned, the 1920s ushered in a new era for women and tattoos. As makeup products remained a luxury, more and more women turned to tattoos as a budget-friendly alternative to cosmetics. Fast forward to 1939, and a trailblazing woman named Mildred Hull etched her name in history as the first female tattoo artist to establish her own tattoo shop in New York City. Around this time, the United States introduced Social Security numbers, and in an effort to never forget it, many citizens opted to have their unique identifier permanently inked onto their skin. Despite these practical applications, decorative tattoos continued to face societal disapproval. Throughout the 1950s and 60s, sporting a tattoo was often enough to brand you as a rebel, an outcast, or even a criminal in the eyes of mainstream society. This prejudice reached a boiling point in 1961 when the New York City Health Department, fearing the spread of disease, imposed an outright ban on tattooing within the city limits. This restriction remained in effect for over 3 decades, finally being lifted in 1997. Today, the landscape has dramatically changed. Tattoos have exploded in popularity, becoming so commonplace that even children's toys sport them. Bans and stigmas have largely vanished, and there are virtually no limits on style, color, or placement, freeing individuals to pursue the tattoo of their dreams. The only potential obstacle? Perhaps a disapproving mother. Now let's shift our focus to a vastly different world, Antarctica. What images spring to mind upon hearing that name? Endless expanses of ice and snow, frigid temperatures, and perhaps a colony of penguins waddling across the landscape. Yet, this remote continent remains one of the least explored places on Earth, concealing countless mysteries and strange phenomena. And you don't need to mount an expedition to the South Pole to witness one of these oddities. Simply fire up Google Earth and navigate to King George Island, one of the northernmost islands in Antarctica. Here, keen-eyed internet users have recently stumbled upon a large and rather peculiar cave entrance. What lies beyond this gaping, shadowy portal? The speculations have been wild and varied. Could it be the entrance to a clandestine underground base, a hidden laboratory conducting secret experiments? Is it a fragment of an alien spaceship that crashed millennia ago, now partially buried beneath the ice? Or perhaps it's a gateway to a lost, ancient city, swallowed by the Antarctic ice sheet ages ago. Maybe it's simply a massive cave, carved by nature, lurking beneath a towering rock mountain hidden under the snow. Amateur sleuths have even attempted to calculate the dimensions of this enigmatic cave. By their estimates, it could stand approximately 74 feet tall and stretch 250 feet wide. Large enough to conceal a Boeing passenger jet. A natural formation seems the most plausible explanation, yet 2 strange details cast a shadow of doubt on this theory. First, observe the base of the mountain. Do those appear to be steps? Dark in color, they resemble stone, as if deliberately carved, and if you look even closer, are those faint impressions that mimic human footprints? Has someone or something entered this cave? Could something be living there still? The second curiosity is the intermittent disappearance of this mysterious entrance. First spotted in a Google Maps image from 2007, the entrance then vanished from subsequent satellite images. It reappeared a few years later, only to disappear once more. In 2022, it resurfaced again. Perhaps the cycle of melting snow exposing the cave, followed by new snowfall and wind concealing it, explains these disappearances and reappearances. But those alleged steps, seemingly leading into the depths of the cave, fuel suspicions of a more deliberate origin. Why not investigate for yourself? The coordinates are readily available online. Take a virtual trip via Google Earth and see what you can find. You might be the one to unravel the mystery and share your discovery with the world. And the strangeness doesn't end there. In 2020, another Google Earth user stumbled upon an anomaly, a massive object resembling a giant ship, lying on its side, partially submerged in ice, approximately 100 miles off the Antarctic coast. Covered in ice and snow, the object bore a striking resemblance to a cruise ship. One could make out what appeared to be windows, a deck, and even the ship's bridge. However, not everyone agrees with this assessment. Some speculate that it's the wreckage of a downed spaceship, while others believe it to be a secret research station. The user who initially spotted the object estimates its length to be around 400 feet, a typical size for a passenger vessel. But what secrets does this vessel hold, stranded as it is in this desolate glacial expanse? How did it navigate to such an isolated location? And who commanded her? To this day, these questions remain unanswered, shrouded in mystery. Imagine, in 2016, eagle-eyed observers poring over Google Earth images stumbled upon a startling sight off the Antarctic coast, a colossal sea creature. This behemoth resembled a giant squid, a kraken of perhaps 200 feet in length. That's nearly the length of 3 railway carriages. Envision this monstrous cephalopod lurking in the inky blackness of the Antarctic depths, dragging anything unfortunate enough to cross its path down into the abyss. Could this be the legendary Chulu, or perhaps one of its monstrous offspring? Then, amidst the blinding white of the Antarctic landscape, a stark contrast. Blood falls. A cascade of crimson that stains the pristine ice. But fear not, it is not truly blood. For centuries, this waterfall has painted the snow a vivid red. The flow emerges directly from a seemingly ordinary iceberg. Let's delve deeper, peering inside to uncover the secrets held within. Millions of years past, a small crystalline pond existed here. Then, inexorably, a glacier formed, encasing it. A thick, impenetrable layer of ice and snow shut out the life-giving sun, the warmth, and the very air itself. For eons, this subterranean reservoir remained locked in its icy prison. But eventually, the water found a weak point, a fissure in the icy wall, and burst forth in a dramatic escape. As this intensely salty water meets the oxygen-rich atmosphere, a chemical reaction occurs, instantly transforming it into a striking key to bringing the mammoth back to life. Adding to the excitement, they also discovered incredibly well-preserved muscle tissue. This majestic creature, it is estimated, lived to be between 50 and 60 years old before succumbing to her icy fate. The discovery of mammoth blood has ignited passionate debates about the ethical implications of resurrecting extinct creatures, a concept that once seemed confined to the realm of science fiction, like in Jurassic Park. The ambitious plan involves implanting a fertilized egg into a living elephant, a process that would require a 22-month gestation period. Their hope is that at least one living mammoth cell will survive and thrive. Now, let's hop continents and find ourselves amidst the breathtaking French Alps. Here, not far from the site of a tragic Air India plane crash 46 years prior, lies another mystery. We are accompanied by a dedicated mountain rescuer and his neighbor, who ventured into this remote area after tourists reported spotting a peculiar object on a glacier. It turned out to be a bag. News of this discovery reached the Indian embassy in Paris, sparking a mission to recover the bag. Intriguingly, it bore the markings Diplomatic Mail and Ministry of External Affairs. The ill-fated Air India flight, en route from Mumbai to New York, tragically plunged into the mountainside in January 1966, claiming the lives of all 117 people on board. But what else did this bag contain, besides the waterlogged diplomatic correspondence? A collection of old Indian newspapers, offering a poignant glimpse into the past. Alongside these artifacts, the team also recovered fragments of the plane's cabin, a solitary shoe, and tangled cables. These were truly unexpected treasures, unearthed from the icy grip of the mountain. In the summer of 2013, a team of scientists made another remarkable discovery. A message left behind by a geologist named Walker, who had placed it there 44 years earlier. The message served as a poignant testament to the man's life as he passed away just a month after concealing the bottle among the rocks on the island. The message itself was quite revealing. In 1959, Walker had meticulously measured the distance from those very stones to the edge of the glacier, recording it at a mere 167 feet. By 2013, that distance had dramatically increased to 400 feet. Researchers believe that this stark contrast serves as a powerful illustration of the profound consequences of ongoing global warming. Imagine the melting ice in Norway's majestic mountains acting as a time capsule, unlocking a treasure trove of Viking artifacts. Nearly 800 items, hidden for over a millennium, have been brought to light. These discoveries offer a fascinating glimpse into the vibrant trade networks of the Viking era and the vital role of mountain passes in facilitating this ancient commerce. Among the remarkable finds are leather shoes, warm wool mittens, stylish tunics, feathered arrowheads, horseshoes, sturdy walking sticks, and even kitchen utensils from a Viking chef's essential tool kit. There are even souvenirs from Viking pack horses. These artifacts provide invaluable insights into ancient travel habits and the bustling activity that once characterized these mountain paths, offering a vivid glimpse into the lives of intrepid adventurers. Legend tells of a dwarf named Fafnir, renowned for his exceptional strength and unwavering courage. His remarkable qualities led to his appointment as protector of their kingdom. Dwarves were known for amassing great wealth, making security a top priority. After all, They resided in dwellings crafted from pure gold and adorned with precious gems. But Fafnir possessed another extraordinary ability. He could alter his very form. Imagine this. Loki, the infamous Norse trickster, with his silver tongue, manipulated Fafnir, and the dragon succumbed to an overwhelming greed, seduced by the glittering allure of his father's immense treasure. Consumed by avarice, Fafnir resolved to hoard every single piece, refusing to share even a fraction with his own kin. He became a thief in the night, absconding with the entire hoard and fleeing to a desolate, far-flung corner of the world, the heart of a trackless desert, where he believed he could remain undisturbed. To safeguard his ill-gotten gains, Fafnir invoked his shape-shifting power, transforming himself into a colossal dragon. Picture a serpentine monstrosity, scaled and armored, radiating raw power and striking terror into the hearts of any who dared approach. But his transformation didn't end there. Because this dragon couldn't take to the skies, Fafnir employed another dark magic, saturating the very air around his lair with deadly poison. This invisible barrier ensured that no one could survive long enough to challenge him for his stolen gold. Yet fate had other plans. Fafnir's reign of greed and terror was eventually brought to an end by a valiant young hero named Sigurd. The legend of Fafnir serves as a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that familial bonds are infinitely more valuable than material wealth. It also showcases the awe-inspiring magical abilities attributed to dragons in ancient lore. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of the Fafnir saga is how perfectly it illustrates the genesis of dragons in our collective imagination. Dragons are everywhere. Just turn on your television, browse the shelves of any bookstore, and you're practically guaranteed to encounter a dragon in some form. Across the globe, from the misty mountains of Asia to the frozen fjords of northern Europe, variations of dragon-like creatures populate the myths and legends of countless cultures. Most of these creatures share common traits: reptilian bodies, leathery wings, fearsome claws, and, most terrifying of all, the ability to breathe scorching fire from their maws. The very name dragon is derived from the Latin word draconum, which translates to huge serpent, a testament to their serpentine origins. But let's journey back through the corridors of time to explore the potential origins of these magnificent beasts. In Asia, as far back as the 4th century BCE, historians unearthed fossilized remains and, captivated by their size and strangeness, declared them to be the bones of dragons. Imagine the scene: a scholar gazing upon the fossilized skeleton of a stegosaurus, a creature that stretched 30 feet in length, stood 14 feet tall, and was adorned with formidable armored plates and spikes. It's easy to understand how such a discovery could ignite the imagination and fuel the belief in dragons. Even the Nile crocodile, Crocodilus niloticus, a formidable predator that still stalks the waterways of sub-Saharan Africa, may have contributed to the dragon myth. Reaching lengths of up to 18 feet at maturity, these crocodiles possess an unnerving ability to walk with their bodies elevated off the ground. Some were even depicted standing upright on their hind legs, further blurring the line between reptile and dragon. Consider the goanna, a dragon-like lizard native to Australia. These impressive reptiles boast razor-sharp teeth, formidable claws, and in some cases, even venomous bites. It's not hard to see how goannas could have inspired the Australian versions of dragon legends. Imagine early humans stumbling upon the colossal bones of whales, creatures whose existence in the depths of the ocean was then unknown. Given their immense size, it's likely that these marine giants were perceived as dangerous and otherworldly. Because whales were rarely seen, shrouded in mystery beneath the waves, they were easily misinterpreted as dragons lurking in the deep. But perhaps the most compelling source of dragon mythology lies within the human brain itself. In her book, An Instinct for Dragons, anthropologist David E. Jones proposed a fascinating theory. Dragons appear in nearly all ancient cultures because humans evolved to instinctively fear large predators as a survival mechanism. This innate fear isn't unique to humans. Monkeys, for instance, exhibit an inherent fear of snakes and large cats. When you combine these primal instincts with folklore and imagination, you get a rich tapestry of dragon stories, each adapted to its specific region and culture. The concept of reptilian beasts imbued with magical powers stretches back to the very dawn of human civilization, to the ancient lands of Mesopotamia. Long ago, in a world steeped in mystery and wonder, humankind conjured myriad creatures in their collective imagination. Yet, towering above all in the pantheon of mythical beings, was Marduk, the patron deity of the magnificent city of Babylon. Imagine traveling back to ancient Mesopotamia. We see artwork depicting Marduk, accompanied by a fearsome dragon, serpentine, in form. This dragon, a symbol of immense power, could be either benevolent or wrathful, its disposition as unpredictable as the changing winds. Now, let's consider the very essence of dragonhood. What if you aspired to be a dragon? The first question posed in any draconic interview would undoubtedly be, can you breathe fire? This seemingly simple question has spurred scientists to explore the very real possibility of dragons unleashing fiery torrents without self-immolation. Their quest led them to an unlikely source. Imagine a world locked in ice, where secrets of the past lie frozen, waiting to be discovered. In the frigid expanse of a Canadian park, entombed beneath a thick, icy blanket, scientists unearthed a peculiar skeleton. They dubbed it the Frozen Dragon, a name that hinted at the mysteries it held. This ancient skeleton had been trapped in the frozen embrace for millions of years. Decades passed as experts painstakingly worked to identify the species of this strange fossil. Finally, it was revealed to be a completely new genus of pterosaur. Picture these pterosaurs, colossal flying reptiles dominating the skies. Their wings stretched over 16 feet, casting immense shadows across the prehistoric landscape. Their heads were disproportionately large, a staggering 3.5 times the size of their bodies. These giants ruled the air 76 million years ago, soaring effortlessly above the dinosaurs below. Scientists have described them as the biggest, most bizarre, and frankly, the meanest animals ever to take flight. This new genus received the name Cryodracon boreas, which translates to Frozen Dragon of the North Winds, a fitting title for a creature resurrected from the icy depths. Now, fast forward to 2013. High in the treacherous altitudes of Mont Blanc, Western Europe's towering peak, a young mountaineer made an extraordinary discovery. A glint of metal caught his eye, a strange box protruding from the snow. Curiosity piqued, he pried it open. Inside lay a dazzling hoard, precious rubies, emeralds, and sapphires, sparkling like captured starlight. The mountaineer, with commendable honesty, immediately handed the box over to the authorities. Investigations revealed a poignant story. The treasure likely belonged to a passenger aboard one of two ill-fated flights from India that had crashed into the mountain more than half a century prior. The box's contents were valued at over $200,000. Even now, the search continues for the rightful heir to this small box of frozen treasures. In the remote reaches of northwest Siberia, 2007, a reindeer herder and his sons stumbled upon something truly remarkable during an outing. A strange form was emerging from the melting ice. As they approached, they realized, incredibly, it was a frozen mammoth calf. The herder promptly contacted the local museum, setting in motion a chain of events that would captivate the world. The calf, affectionately named Luba, was hailed as the best-preserved mammoth mummy ever discovered. Luba had slumbered in the ice for an astounding 41,800 years. Astonishingly, she was only about 30 to 35 days old when she perished. From the tip of her trunk to the end of her tail, the mammoth calf was roughly the size of a large dog. If you wish to see Luba for yourself, she continues to travel to museums around the globe, a testament to a time long past. Venture now to the frozen continent of Antarctica. Here, amidst endless layers of ice and snow, stands Mount Erebus, a frozen volcano. Explorers on an Arctic expedition first laid eyes on it in 1841, right in the midst of an eruption. This towering volcano soars over 12,000 feet high and has been active for the past 1.3 million years. Deep within its heart lies a massive crater, brimming with vast quantities of molten lava. Mount Erebus experiences occasional explosions, classifying it as being in a state of continuous eruption. These eruptions, however, are generally small and pose little threat. Rewind to 1991. Two hikers traversing the Italian Alps made a chilling discovery: a body. Initially, they assumed it belonged to a recently lost hiker. They made the arduous trek back down the mountain to report their grim find, but once the remains were recovered, it became clear that this was no recent tragedy. Scientists determined that the Iceman, as he became known, was over 5,000 years old. They named him Ötzi. The discovery was unprecedented. The body was exceptionally well preserved. For years, Ötzi was subjected to intense scientific scrutiny. Researchers discovered that our ancestors shared far more in common with us than previously imagined. Ötzi was covered in intricate ink body art, a testament to ancient traditions. Analysis of his stomach contents revealed that his last meal consisted of dried, cured meat, remarkably similar to the bacon we enjoy today. Furthermore, it was discovered that Ötzi has at least 19 living relatives scattered across Central Europe. Meanwhile, deep in Siberia, scientists were studying ancient squirrel burrows when they unearthed an extraordinary find. One of the squirrels had carefully stashed away precious seeds far beneath the surface. These seeds had been encased in ice for an incredible 32,000 years. The seeds belonged to the Silena stenophila flower, Silena stenophila, a species that had long been considered extinct. Incredibly, scientists managed to recover viable plant tissue. Imagine a team of dedicated botanists tirelessly working to resurrect a flower lost to time. They carefully extract dormant seeds, coaxing life back into them. These seeds, containing the blueprint for an entire generation, burst forth, and soon a vibrant crop of these flowers flourishes. What was once extinct now blooms again, as these scientists successfully reintroduced this remarkable flower to its ancestral homes around the globe. Now, let's journey to the Arctic in the year 1930. A group of Norwegian scientists braved the treacherous Arctic Ocean, their ship cutting through icy waters as they conducted vital research on the region's seas and glaciers. Their expedition led them to White Island, a desolate, ice-covered landmass so dangerous that no human was believed to have ever set foot there. But they were wrong. A startling discovery awaited them. Protruding from the snow was the tip of a small boat. Frozen solid within the vessel, they found scientific instruments and an array of personal belongings, including a jacket bearing the monogram S.A. Andre. They had stumbled upon the wreckage of the ill-fated Andre Arctic balloon expedition. Picture this. 1897, Swedish explorers, led by the ambitious Andre, embark on a daring mission to reach the North Pole using a hydrogen balloon. But the expedition vanished without a trace. For 33 years, their fate remained a mystery until the Norwegian scientists unearthed their frozen tomb on White Island. The balloon, it turned out, had crashed a mere 2 days after its departure from Sweden. The stranded explorers attempted to traverse the island using a makeshift boat, but their efforts were in vain. Fast forward to 2010, in the frigid expanse of Siberia. Here, in the permafrost, the best-preserved woolly mammoth ever discovered emerged from its icy slumber. Scientists christened this remarkable specimen Yucca, named after the nearby village. Yucca, estimated to be around 6 to 8 years old at the time of its death, had been entombed in the ice for an astounding 39,000 years. The exceptional preservation of Yucca has allowed for extensive study, providing invaluable insights into the lives of these ancient giants. In 2019, scientists even reported successfully activating cells extracted from Yucca's tissue. Could this be a glimpse into a future where woolly mammoths once again roam the Earth? Consider the vast, icy continent of Antarctica. From images, it appears to be a desolate, snow-covered plain, punctuated by a few modest hills. But beneath this icy facade lies a hidden world. In the early 2000s, while studying the Gamburtsev Mountains, scientists were astounded to discover that these seemingly insignificant rocky hills were, in fact, the peaks of a colossal mountain range buried under a mile of ice. Using advanced radar technology, researchers determined that these mountains reach a staggering 10,000 feet in height and stretch across 750 miles. A range comparable in size to the European Alps, but concealed beneath a thick blanket of ice and snow. Deep within a Siberian gold mine, a keen-eyed businessman noticed something unusual embedded in the frozen earth near a river. It was a small, perfectly preserved woolly rhino calf, later named Sasha. These magnificent creatures, with their thick coats and formidable horns, have been extinct for 15,000 years. Sasha is believed to have been frozen in time for up to 39,000 years. What makes Sasha truly unique is that it's the only complete woolly rhino specimen ever discovered, offering an unparalleled glimpse into the life of this Ice Age giant. The glaciers surrounding the northern Italian town of Peo are now melting, revealing artifacts from decades and even centuries past. Relics from soldiers long gone are emerging from the melting ice, including personal diaries, faded photographs, and poignant love letters. Historians have even unearthed an entire cabin, remarkably preserved beneath the icy grip. Inside, they found artifacts like hard metal helmets and tattered clothing, frozen in time. Let's turn our attention to 1845. Sir John Franklin embarked on a fateful expedition to chart the Northwest Passage to the North Pole. His crew sailed aboard two ships, HMS Erebus and the ironically named HMS Terror. Disaster struck, and both ships vanished into the icy depths. In 2016, after a century and a half, HMS Terror was discovered by a team of researchers. Despite being submerged for